Hey everybody, not a lot going on tonight, but I am going to do a little bit of work here on my 20-gallon open-topped office tank. It definitely needs, at the very least, a top off, but since I've topped it off once or twice now, I think it's just time for a water change. I'm going to change the filter, which is no big deal here on the hang on the back. I'm probably going to go ahead and just get rid of that little, we'll call it that little micro garden up there that really never was. It looks as though I'm getting plenty of flow of water, so I don't think my filter intake is getting, gummed up or clogged up or anything. I won't have to mess with that. It'll be a simple filter change. Not a lot to worry about or talk about there, really. The only thing I really want to do while I'm in here tonight is, I guess, get the glass wiped down. It doesn't really need it, but it could use it. And I want to get this one piece of Java Windelov trimmed off. You can see it's sort of growing up there rogue. I cut down the temple plant right here recently, and you can see I've got some nice new shoots. That's going to bush out nicely, but this was just getting on my nerves. Those are a lot of little baby shoots that are developing there. I'll be able to tease that apart and get several little tiny plants out of that. I'll go ahead and put them in my grow out buckets that I have down the basement. Remember, I do sell my Java Fern and Water Sprite. I've always got excess amounts of that, and then occasionally I will have some extra other stuff too, so it's always worth hitting me up if you're interested in some Anubias or maybe some of the temple plant I just talked about. I often will have that available, but I just about always have Java Fern, Java Windelov, and Water Sprite available. I'll put my email down below if you're interested. You can contact me. So now it's going to be even less of a dramatic before and after, because I already did the one thing that I really planned on doing while I was doing the water change, which was remove that piece of Java that was kind of sticking up there like that. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get on with it. We'll see if anything crops up while I'm in there, anything worth talking about, but probably not. I'm going to go ahead and call this your before, and there's your after. So as promised, not a lot going on. The only thing I did with my micro garden, if you will, was I took the piece of creeping Jenny that was growing down into the tank and developing roots, and I sort of broke that off at the edge of the planter, and I took the planter outside and hung the creeping Jenny back in there, since this is the end that actually has the roots on it. So hopefully the creeping Jenny will continue to live. If not, I got tons of it out in the yard. If I ever want to add any more to the tank, I always can go and grab some easy enough. That's not a big deal. Sorry if I sound winded. I just came running from upstairs trying to get a bunch of stuff done real quick before I finished off this video. But the Java Windelov, I wound up taking quite a lot of it off of there. All of those real thick, bushy tops were where all of the new growth developed. It's kind of weird. It sort of grows, well, right there. You can kind of see right on this stalk coming up, you can kind of see how it branches out and gets really bushy. And from there, all of the new growth sort of starts almost like from an epicenter, and just new growth just keeps making it bushier and bushier and bushier, and then you wind up getting these sort of wads of growth on the end, and they just sort of break loose and come off, and the whole entire end comes off, along with a bunch of little babies. You can probably see a few of them floating around and swirling around in the tank. They're tiny and they get everywhere once they break loose. So that's what I'm talking about. That's a whole entire baby plant right there now. And all of those wads, all of these big clusters you see at the top, that's a whole cluster of those little babies. So they're breeding quite prolifically in here. I've got a lot of them now. As I said, if you're interested, check my email down below. They're not going to be big plants, but they will be plentiful if you're looking for lots of small ones. Now would be a good time to hit me up. The other thing, other than simply wiping the glass down and doing the water change, I want to talk about how I did the water change, because this time, instead of getting out my gravel vac and bucket, which even if I don't gravel vac, I always figure that's the easy way of doing a water change. All I have to do is stand here and wait while water drains into a bucket. Then I carry the bucket into the other room, and one shot, one 5-gallon bucket gets dumped, and then I fill the tank back up. And so tonight what I did was I took my handy dandy pretzel container here. I use these containers for everything. And instead of using the siphon and gravel vac, I just took this and, plunked it into the tank, which scooped out a lot of water very quickly. This holds about 1.5 gallons of water, maybe a little more than 1.5 gallons of water. So I was able to just scoop large volumes of water out of the tank. The room right next door is the bathroom, so all I had to do was walk, basically out this room around the corner and then dump the water down the sink and come back in and scoop another one out. And so I basically had all the water drained out of the tank within a minute or two, literally, and then it was time to just start filling the tank back up. So it just kind of almost depends on what tank I'm using as to whether or not using a siphon is the easy way of doing it or the hard way. I guess if I've got something maybe 40 gallons or 55 gallons, then taking a bucket at a time and a scoop at a time and filling a bucket, that might be a little more labor intensive. But with these smaller tanks, a lot of times, and I'm not even talking about the difference between my Python, that goes into the other room kind of drain rather than just a gravel vac into a bucket. Then I can go, the simplest way of doing it is how I just described, literally scooping water right out of the top of the tank and being done with it. So I think from now on, unless I have a need to gravel vac, and I might want to get in there and gravel vac, if nothing else, just to disturb the gravel. You can see how much algal growth I'm getting on there. There was a lot of that really hard to get green algae sort of in this section of the glass, and that of course is because that's where the focal point of the light is. And then as we get further away from the center and then further down into the bottom, I had less and less algae to wipe off the glass. But that light really does put a lot of light on it. And then of course in the afternoon I also get the light coming in from the window on the other side of the room, comes in this way and hits this front end down to about here. So that's why I get so much algae growing on this on the front glass in this tank. So no big deal. I used one of my little melamine sponges. Have to put a little bit of elbow grease into it, and because this sits on a faux roll top desk, I have to kind of lean over that roll top part to get to it. It's a little bit awkward and weird to get to. I didn't really think this one through when I set it up, but all in all, it's not a lot of maintenance and not a lot of difficulty. So there you go. Just a look at my 20-gallon office tank before and after. A little chat about different ways to change the water. And don't forget, of course, if you're interested in any of that Java Windelov, hit me up with my email, and I've got plenty of it available right now. So thanks for watching this one. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget, this one is my 20-gallon office tank. Thanks for watching. I'll see you real soon in the next one.